So, Seth, I did not see Andy Enfield leaving USC for SMU, starting a domino effect that leads to John Calipari winding up in Arkansas, but such is life. What the hell is basically my question for you and your two
well, you
cents on that.
well you got to go before then because SMU blew a lead in their conference tournament and lost a game, and the school fired Rob Lanier only after 2 years, which is really not cool. I mean, you don't whatever it happened. So that was the first domino. That was what we were kind of all
Mm.
saying last night. Like when SMU fired Rob Lanier, not like anybody paid any attention to that.
Yeah.
Who could have imagined how the dominoes would go into effect? It starts with, first of all, SMU's going into the ACC next year because we all know that Dallas is on the Atlantic coast, as apparently Stanford and Cal is now on the Atlantic coast. This is college athletics. They put a lot of money at Andy Enfield, who was basically maybe facing a bad situation by next year at USC. So $33 million, I think, guaranteed money for Andy. That was kind of a no-brainer. Eric Musselman has Southern California ties. He's always wanted that job. As soon as that job came open, I started texting us because I live in LA, as do you. So you could see that happening. And what's interesting about the Arkansas situation, Rich, is their first choice was Chris Beard, and they were ready to pay him a lot of money. And Chris was not comfortable leaving Ole Miss after only 1 year. They went after Jerome Tang at Kansas State. He's only been there for 2 years. He was comfortable in his situation. He stayed there. So Calipari is their third choice. This came together in a very, very quick fashion, and it came together because of John Tyson, who's part of the Tyson Foods family, a billionaire who's longtime friends with John Calipari, went to Arkansas and said, let me make the call and see if we can put this together. And Calipari was all ears. Look, Calipari's been in Kentucky for 15 years. He's done an amazing job. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's a really, really good basketball coach. For a variety of reasons, many of which are not necessarily in his control, they flamed out in the NCAA tournament. And that's how teams are judged. I mean, they had a great season. It just so happened they lost to an Oakland team that played great, and it was a close game. You know, they win that game. We're not even having this conversation. So I think 15 years is a long time for anybody to be in any job. For a coach like Calipari in a high-profile place like Kentucky, I think he saw an opportunity to move on, get a fresh start. I think it's good for him. I think it's good for Kentucky because if Kentucky wanted to fire Calipari, it owed him $33 million. That's real money now. And so now they don't owe him a dime, and Arkansas doesn't have to pay about. So Arkansas gets a great coach and a fresh start. Kentucky gets a fresh start. It's good for Calipari. And frankly, I think it's good for college basketball. Change is good. I mean, this is what we're already kind of looking forward to next year when Calipari takes his Arkansas team back into Rupp Arena. Now Kentucky's got to make a hire. And that's going to open up a lot of dominoes. So it's going to be a fast and furious couple of weeks in college basketball.
Yeah, it's a lot of chicken, I'm sure, that got spent on a buyout, I'm assuming, for Calipari to be free to do what he did last night. So before I let you go, who do you think is a fit for the Kentucky job, Seth?
I think it's going to be Scott Drew. I think, Scott Drew has been at Baylor a long time. He has an economic buyout. It's under $5 million. And if you're Kentucky, you got to go get someone of that caliber. So I think that's the first place that you start. I think maybe you kick the tires on Danny Hurley, see what that situation looks like, see what UConn is prepared to do. I think the guy who I think would crush it is Nate Oates, but he's got an $18 million buyout. That's a non-starter. Bruce Pearl is another one. So it's not, obviously, Kentucky is not just about inside the rectangle of the basketball court, right? I mean, it's a big job. You need a big personality, someone who can understand everything that comes along with being the coach of Kentucky. There are not many. Bruce Pearl would be fantastic. He's got an 8-figure buyout as well. So it's a combination of who's a good coach, who's a good fit for the culture of the job, but then who's also economical and who would take it. And so I think I'm going to make the prediction right now that it's going to be Scott Drew.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.